I'm building up a small engine shed area using the Airfix kit, and one of the things I want to include in the area is an ash pit. So there'll be a little ash pit siding coming over here, where you can see I've marked up the area that I've got to cut for the ash pit. The first thing I did was cut the outline of the ash pit with the Stanley knife, and I've then got a small chisel and I'm slowly whittling away at the baseboard top as slowly and as precisely as I can to create the hole where the ash pit form is going to drop. You can see the ash pit now under the piece of track, but what I've got to do really now is first of all I'm going to fit the inlay for the ash pit, and then I'm going to get an old redundant piece of Hornby Dublo 2 rail track and trim a number of sleepers away that cross over the ash pit itself. So here's the ash pit for the branch line engine shed. At the end of these pits there were either steps down or there was a sloping access for things like the wheelbarrow, so you could dump your ash inside that and then trundle it away to your ash pile. The steps and the ramp are now in place. Well, here's a close-up of the ash pit. I've put like a little bit of residual ash in the bottom, and I've put some sort of edging slabs down each side of the track. It's worth pointing out that when you cut this area out here of the sleepers, that you do it fairly carefully. I did a cut down the middle to take some of the tension away, and then I chopped the edges away, and I've then super glued the base of the rail to the plastic base which the sleepers are actually moulded from. But it does weaken this area around here quite significantly, so just be aware that when you're doing that cut, you know, just to check that you're not splitting the links from the sleepers to the rail section itself. And the area all round here really is going to be weathered and tidied up, so it blends in more with what a shed would have looked like. Just been doing some ballasting around the shed area. It's just drying at the moment, but there's still quite a bit to do in terms of the finishing. Decided with the engine shed that I'll put some paving around it, so it makes it just easier for the staff to walk around. It's just loosely laid at the moment. The idea is that that'll all get toned in with some paint, different shades of grey to represent the slabs, and then I've used some crayon to give it a little bit of texture and variation. I've also got to put a water tower in, but I don't really want to make that too big, and one of the ideas I've got is to use a tanker body. I shan't be using this one, it's far too good, but somewhere in the scrap box I found a lot of the old components from an old Airfix footbridge, so I've used these to make a framework for the water tank. Just put those at each end. I've got a couple of strips of balsa wood to support the tank on, so that just needs to be all primed and painted up, so I'll do that next. Rubbing down ready for the primer coat. Water tank positioned roughly and painted up, ready to have some finishing touches. I'm thinking of running some pipe work to it as well, because it gets the water from the hillside. There's a natural spring there called the Peckham Spring, and it just sort of provides a steady flow which keeps the tank topped up. with the water tower I decided to move it to the rear of the engine shed. Just meant that there was an easier access to the spring on the hillside. And here's the water tower viewed from the rear. Over here we've got a couple of wheelbarrows for taking the ash out of the ash pit. Here's the mound of ash that's been accumulated from the clearing out of the Loco's grate and firebox, and just behind that there's a shed, and in the shed they keep the wheelbarrows. The branch line needs a coal stage, so I looked at this photograph to get an idea of the platform that the coal would be put upon. The construction I've used is quite simple, just using some matchsticks that I've cut to size to make the wooden framework. I've also used some spare strips of very thin balsa and also some plastruct strips as well. I've just used card to build the platform top and the main components on the structure on top. I used a bit of plastic left over from the level crossing kit, the Airfix level crossing kit, to build the sides because it's got some nice planking detail. And I've just popped some fencing and a ladder and a little Airfix worker on the stage, and then I've weathered it up